Do you dream of a second Earth? A planet just like our own, where we can build cities, grow crops, and breathe easy. Someday, we may have that option, because this isn't science fiction. We're talking about the cool science of terraforming. Hey there, welcome to Brain Domination. Today, we're answering the question, could we live on Mars? Let's get started! First, let's take a look at what Mars is like today. It's pretty in a barren, rusty sort of way, but it's definitely not habitable for humans. Its atmosphere is 100 times thinner than Earth's. So if you brought your pet goldfish along for the ride, it would absolutely die from lack of oxygen. And even if you brought an oxygen tank along, you wouldn't be able to breathe. That's because the thin atmosphere also means that air pressure on Mars is very low. Without a pressurized suit, you'd only be able to survive for about 15 minutes. So, no breathing, no swimming, no flying. On top of that, Mars is a frozen desert, although it was likely much warmer and wetter in the past. The average surface temperature today is minus 63 degrees Celsius or minus 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And although liquid water can be found beneath its icy surface, none exists on top, which means no oceans, lakes or rivers, and certainly no rain. All of these factors make it pretty clear that we could unjust move to Mars as it is. We need to change it. But how? Well, scientists have been hard at work imagining all sorts of terraforming technologies. One of the more popular theories among scientists is to use nuclear bombs to melt Mars' polar ice caps, which would then release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide would trap heat and warm the planet, and with enough time, that trapped heat could also melt the frozen carbon dioxide. That's part of the Martian soil, releasing even more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. More carbon dioxide means more heat trapping and a warmer planet. Pretty soon, Mars would be toasty, and we could start building our beach houses. Okay, maybe not that quickly, even though this nuke plan sounds kind of fast. It would actually take centuries to work. Other methods, like covering the planet in giant mirrors to trap solar energy or blasting the atmosphere with high-powered lasers. 2. Incurred chemical reactions that create greenhouse gases would take thousands of years. But those are just the length of time that it would take to change the planet. Humans can't live in an unlivable Mars for a few decades. We need to survive the entire terraforming process, and that won't be easy. For starters, while melting the poles will give us water, it'll also cause the sea level to rise and flood large parts of the planet. And since Mars has no moon, tides would likely be extreme and dangerous. Plus, even after centuries of warming, Mars would still be a frozen desert. Any water that did exist on the planet would probably be locked up in ice most of the year. Meaning we'd have to figure out some way to pipe hot water from the poles to wherever we're living. Otherwise, we'd need to keep the planet artificially warm indefinitely, which would require a lot of energy. And speaking of energy, it takes a lot to run a civilization. If we want to grow food and build homes, we'll need access to resources. And so far, we haven't discovered any oil on Mars. Sure, the planet is rich in minerals like iron, magnesium, and calcium. But we don't know how difficult it would be to extract them from the red Martian rocks. In fact, we don't really know anything about how we would survive on Mars at all, which is a big problem for terraforming. You've got to account for all possible problems before you start nuking stuff. Okay, let's say we can figure out all of those problems. There's still one more massive ethical issue. Who owns Mars? Because if we change it, it'll be the first new Earth-like planet that humans can reach. And so far, we haven't made any treaties about how we should treat other planets. Should Mars be a democratic society, a military state, a lawless frontier? Whoever gets there first gets to decide. And that raises a lot of complicated questions. All of these problems might make terraforming Mars a bad idea. Or maybe they only seem impossible because we're trying to change the planet on a massive scale. What if we didn't try to turn Mars into Earth, What if we tried to build a life on Mars that's suited to Mars? Like the habitats designed for the TV show, The Expanse? These habitats would allow humans to live on Mars without trying to change the planet itself. Plus, they could be built a lot sooner, within the next couple of decades. Not only that, but they could be built in space and then sent to Mars, meaning that we could start living on Mars without even landing on it. It's possible that these habitats would eventually become self-sustaining. We might even populate them with robots that can help us farm and mine, allowing us to live comfortably on Mars without ever turning it into Earth 2.0. So the question isn't whether we could live on Mars, it's how. Mars might not be Earth's 2.0 yet, but it could be humanity's backup plan. Thank you for watching this episode of Brain Domination. If you liked it, don't forget to click the like button and share it with a friend. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more. And as always, this has been your host. Don't forget to keep on thinking.